Welcome. This is a short video made up from a series of still images that I took to demonstrate how to turn a bowl from a natural edged piece of wood, side grain, initially using a template in order to cut it to round on a bandsaw. I have a series of these templates cut to different diameters with a hole in the centre. You can just tack that onto the piece of wood, irregular though it is with the bark, and then cut it using the bandsaw into a decent shape. Then take the blank and fix it to a faceplate and mount it onto your chuck, and then turn it to produce a tenon on the bottom using a bowl gouge. Make sure the tenon is correctly sized for your set of chuck jaws, and then after you've got a decent shaped tenon, mount that in your chuck jaws, and don't forget to align between chuck jaws 1 and 2 where you are, in order that you can reverse turn it later on. For a beginner, it's quite handy to cut a series of grooves into the face of the bowl before you try and hollow it. It gives you something for the bowl gouge to push against as you make your scooping movements from the centre outwards to hollow out the waste. This method of hollowing out is quite good for a beginner. It allows you to move from each ring progressively towards the outside, scooping out as you go. Although most of your cuts should correctly be push cuts, most of the hollowing will of course be done with a push cut following the bevel down. But if your tool is ground to something that's say like a 45-degree angle, it gets harder at the bottom to get the waste out as you get to the bottom, because the back of your bevel will start to knock against the side. So you can do a pull cut from the centre in order to just pull some of that waste material out. It's quite a handy cut to get used to doing, as it allows you to pull material out from the bottom without having to resort to a scraper, or indeed needing a special bowl gouge ground to a much steeper bevel angle in order to enable you to trim the bottom. Don't forget to check the depth as you go, of course. Okay, now on to a small spalted beech bowl, using similar techniques but on a much smaller piece, perhaps easier to see. The bowl blank is initially mounted on a faceplate and then trued to round on the face and the edge. Then the tenon is carefully marked out on the face, making sure that when you mark it out that the tip of the calipers is only on the front edge in order to avoid a catch. Then I've used a parting tool to mark out where the tenon will be, and then use a bowl gouge to remove the waste and get a profile for the outside of the bowl. Then use a skew as a scraper to get a nice sharp edge to your tenon to make sure you can grip it well, and then dress the base of the tenon. Make sure you've got rid of all your tool marks, dress the tenon again if necessary, sand and finish the outside. Remove the faceplate and remount it into your tenon on your chuck jaws. Dress the face as appropriate, and then start hollowing out, with or without the marks that were done earlier on, which can be added like before with a parting tool to start with, or just created as you go with your bowl gouge to give you something to push against. For the purposes of this video, I've done a series of push and pull cuts to remove the material, but you always want to finish the final cuts where possible with a push cut or a nice shear scrape. Sand and finish off with your preferred finish. In this case, the base of the tenon was so well sized to suit the chuck jaws that no further finishing apart from a little bit of light hand sanding was necessary.